As a little bonus, I do want to share something with you that I wasn't necessarily going to include into my So Your Baby is Going to Middle School series. But the more that I reflected on what I truly hope to give parents as they navigate this phase of life, I want to give you a few different options of your type of parenting styles. And I don't mean gentle parenting and all that stuff. I mean, how do we respond under stress? What is our typical go-to response? So grab your coffee, pull up a chair. Let's talk about it. Dear parent, can I paint you a picture? Your child is on a bike, helmet slightly crooked, hands gripping the handlebars a little too tight, feet pushing the pedals like they are trying to outrun fear itself. And you are jogging beside them, one hand on the back of the seat, one hand somewhere between their shoulder and the air because you are trying to help without completely taking over. And then it happens. They wobble, and not a cute wobble either, a real wobble. The kind that makes your whole body flinch, the kind that makes your soul leave your body for half a second, and everything in you wants to grab the bike, steady it, stop it, fix it, save them, because that wobble looks like danger. But here's the thing, that wobble is not failure. That wobble is the learning. And if we grab the bike every single time they wobble, they may never learn how balance feels in their own body. Middle school independence works the same way. Your child is going to wobble. They may forget something, misread a schedule, wait too long to ask for help, lose a hoodie, choose silence when they should have spoken up, speak up when maybe silence would have served them better. And your instinct may be to grab the bike. But today, we're going to talk about how to jog beside them without riding the bike for them. Because independence is not something we hand over on the first day of middle school. Independence is something we practice together. Welcome back to the 2 Cent Charlie podcast and our limited summer series, So Your Baby is Going to Middle School. This is the series for the parents who are somewhere between my baby is growing up and wait. Are we supposed to send them into a building with multiple teachers, a locker, a lunch account, passing periods, deodorant needs, and emotions they cannot name yet? Because listen, that is a lot. This series is not about surviving middle school. It is about preparing the adults who will walk beside children through one of the biggest transitions of their lives. My mission is simple, helping kids by helping the adults help kids. Last week, we talked about adolescence, and today we are talking about independence, but not independence in the throw them in the deep end and see what happens kind of way, not independence in the you're old enough now, figure it out kind of way, and not in the independence of I guess I have to just let go of my baby completely kind of way. No. Today, we are talking about practiced independence, guided independence, and something I like to call campfire independence, the kind where the child learns to ride, but they still know where the warmth is. All right, let's have our coffee chat for a minute. Before we talk about your child's independence, we need to talk about you. And I say that with love. Because middle school has a way of revealing not only who our children are becoming, but who we become under stress. And baby, sometimes that mirror is rude. Not wrong, just rude. Because we all have instincts. When our kids are struggling, hurting, confused, embarrassed, rejected, overwhelmed, or unprepared, something rises up inside of us. And usually that something comes from love. It comes from protection. It comes from memory. It comes from our own childhood. It comes from what we wish someone had done for us. It comes from fear. It comes from, not my baby, not today, not on my watch. And I want to be clear. I am not here to label anyone. I am not here to put parents into boxes. I do not like when people reduce parents to stereotypes because most parents I meet are doing the absolute best they can with the information, energy, support, stress levels, sleep, and history they have. So instead of calling these parenting styles, let's call them what they are: parenting instincts under pressure. Because you may not be one of these all the time, but under stress, one of them may show up real quick. And the goal is not to shame, the goal is recognition. Because when you can recognize your instinct, you can decide whether that instinct is helping your child practice independence or accidentally taking the handlebars away. See what I just did there? We are already back at the bike. Here's what I've noticed after years of watching students, parents, and teachers navigate the middle school years. A lot of parents say, my child isn't independent. But when we slow down and look closely, sometimes what we really mean is, my child has not had enough safe opportunities to practice independence. And listen, that sentence hits different because if independence is a trait, then either my child has it or they don't. But if independence is a skill, then we can build it. If independence is a muscle, then we can strengthen it. If independence is a bike ride, then we can expect some wobbling. So let's talk about the instincts that show up when our children wobble. Not so we can judge ourselves, so we can understand ourselves. First up, the helicopter instinct. This is the parent who hovers close, watching, tracking, checking, reminding, double checking the reminder, then sending a text to remind them that you reminded them. And listen, the helicopter instinct comes from love. It says, I see danger before you see danger. It says, I know what can go wrong. It says, I don't want you to fall behind. And there are strengths here. Helicopter parents often notice things early. They are attentive and involved. They know the details. They see the patterns. They can spot a shift in their child's face before the child even says, I'm fine. And in middle school, that can be a gift because children at this age are changing fast and attentive adults matter. But here's the blind spot. If we hover too close for too long, our children may learn to look outward before they look inward. They may wait for us to notice the problem, wait for us to remind them or to rescue the forgotten assignment. They will wait for us to email the teacher on their behalf or wait for us to tell them what to do next. And without meaning to, we may train them to believe I need someone else to manage me. So the small mindset shift is this. Instead of how can I prevent the wobble, try how can I help my child notice the wobble and respond? That might sound like, walk me through your plan. What do you think you need to remember for tomorrow? How will you know if you're getting behind? What's your first step before I step in? You're still close. You're still loving. You are still present, but you are moving from pilot to air traffic control. You are not flying the plane. You are helping them learn how to navigate. Then There's the lawnmower instinct. The lawnmower parent sees obstacles and wants to clear the path before the child even gets there. Email sent, form completed, teacher contacted, problem removed, conflict softened, consequence negotiated, forgotten item delivered. And again, this comes from love. It says, life is hard enough. I don't want my child to struggle unnecessarily. And there are strengths here too. Lawnmower parents, as they have been called, are problem solvers. They are action oriented. They can move mountains. They know how to get things done. These are the parents who can find the missing cleat, order the poster board, sign the permission slip, call the office, and still make it to work only 7 minutes late. Barely breathing, but present. Respect. But the blind spot is this: if we remove every obstacle, our children may not learn how to climb. And middle school has obstacles, not because anyone is trying to make their lives hard, but because life has obstacles. Different teachers, different expectations, different personalities, different levels of organization, friendship shifts, awkward moments, miscommunication, disappointment. And if every uncomfortable thing becomes something an adult clears away, children start to believe discomfort means something is wrong. But discomfort is often where growth begins. So the small mindset shift is this: instead of, how can I clear the path? Try, how can I prepare my child to walk the path? That might sound like, this is tricky. What are two ways you could handle that? Do you want help practicing what to say? Which part feels the hardest for you? What do you think will happen if you wait? Is this something you need me to do or something you need me to help you prepare for? See what happened there? You are not abandoning them in the tall grass. You are handing them better shoes, maybe some bug spray, maybe even a flashlight, but you are letting them walk. Now, let's talk about the defender instinct. This is the parent who hears their child's side of the story and immediately feels the shield come up. And listen, I get it. There is something about seeing your child hurt that will activate a version of you that does not need coffee, sleep, or full context. The defender instinct says, I will protect you. And that is beautiful. Children need to know someone is in their corner. They need to know they are not alone. They need to know their parent will listen and believe that their feelings matter. The strength of the defender is loyalty, presence, protection, courage. But the blind spot is this: sometimes in our rush to defend the child, we forget to develop the child. And those are not the same thing. If every conflict becomes, who did this to you? Instead of, what happened? What was your part? And what can we learn from this? Then we may miss the growth opportunity. Now, please hear me before y'all come for me. There are times when children need strong adult advocacy. There are times when we absolutely need to step in. There are times when the system gets it wrong. There are times when a child is mistreated, misunderstood, targeted, dismissed, or harmed. I am not asking parents to be passive, not at all. I am asking us to stay curious long enough to get the full picture, because middle school students are still learning how to tell stories accurately, not because they're bad, but because they are still developing. They may tell the part that hurt the most, the part that made them look right, the part they understood, the part they remember, the part that protects them from embarrassment. So the mindset shift is this: instead of, who do I need to defend my child from? Try, what does my child need to learn? And where do they need protection? That might sound like, I believe that felt awful. Let's slow down and understand what happened. What did you do next? What do you wish you had done? What do you need from me right now? Comfort, coaching, or advocacy? Ooh, that word got stuck. That question right there, put it in your pocket. Comfort, coaching, or advocacy. There it goes. Because sometimes they need a hug. Sometimes they need practice. Sometimes they need us to send the email. But if we send the email every time, they may never learn to use their own voice. Then there is the investigator instinct. The investigator wants facts, receipts, screenshots, timelines, who said what time, where were you standing, who else was there, did anyone else see it, what exactly did the teacher say? Read me the email, open up the grade book, show me the assignment. And honestly, the investigator instinct can be useful because details matter, especially in middle school. Sometimes children are overwhelmed because they do not understand the system. Sometimes the issue is not emotional. Sometimes they literally don't know where the missing assignment is posted. Sometimes the backpack is a crime scene. Sometimes the binder looks like a raccoon packed it like during a thunderstorm or something. So, yes, investigation has strengths. It brings us clarity. It slows down assumptions. It looks for patterns. It helps parents make informed decisions. But the blind spot is this: if we investigate too hard, too fast, our children may feel cross examined instead of supported. They may shut down. They may think, never mind, I shouldn't have said anything. And now the campfire gets cold. So the mindset shift is this: instead of, I need to get to the bottom of this immediately, try, I need to keep my child talking long enough to understand. That might sound like, okay, slow it down for me. Tell me the part that bothered you most. What do you know for sure? And what are you still unsure about? Do you want me to ask questions now, or do you just need to get this off your chest first? Because sometimes the first conversation is not for solving. Sometimes the first conversation is for smoke. Before there is a flame, there is smoke. Before they can explain it clearly, they may need to let the emotion rise. And if we can sit with the smoke without panicking, eventually we may understand where the fire is. And then there is the coach instinct. This is the one we are often aiming for. The coach says, I believe you can do this, and I will help you practice. The coach does not ignore struggle. The coach does not rescue every time. The coach teaches skills. The coach practices language, reviews the play, lets the child try again. The strength of the coach is growth. The coach sees potential. The coach knows mistakes are part of development, but even the coach has a blind spot because sometimes the coach starts coaching before the child feels connected. And when a child is upset, embarrassed, or overwhelmed, immediate coaching can feel like criticism. You know how a child comes home and says, I had the worst day. And before they even finish the sentence, we say, well, did you talk to the teacher? Did you check your planner? Did you remember what I told you? What did you expect would happen? That may all be true, but truth without timing can feel like pressure. Place, time, tone. Even good advice needs the right landing place. So the coach's mindset shift is this: instead of how quickly can I teach the lesson, try, is my child regulated enough to receive the lesson? That might sound like, I can help you think through this. Do you want to do that now or later? First, come sit by me. Let's eat something and then we'll make a plan. I'm not mad. We are going to figure this out. That is coaching with warmth. That is where the campfire begins. So now that we have named the instincts, the helicopter, the lawnmower, the defender, the investigator, and the coach, I want to offer a picture, not a label, not a box, not even a perfect parenting model, a 2 cents perspective, if you will, an aspiration, a place to return to, a way of being. I call it the campfire parent. And I want you to hear this clearly. The campfire parent is not the parent who never gets it wrong. The campfire parent is the parent who keeps the fire burning. Can I paint you a picture? Think about a campfire. People gather around a campfire for warmth, for stories, for laughter, for truth, for reflection, for belonging. Nobody gathers around a campfire because everything is perfect. They gather because the night is dark and the fire helps them see each other. That is the kind of parent I want to become. That is the kind of adult I want to help build. The campfire parent creates emotional safety, not by removing every hard thing, but by becoming a steady place to return to when hard things happen. The campfire parent adds another log to the fire of conversation instead of ending it. When a child says, I hate school, the campfire parent does not immediately say, you don't hate school. They add a log. Ooh, something about today must have felt real heavy. When a child says, my teacher doesn't like me, the campfire parent does not jump straight to, what did you do? They add a log. Tell me what happened that made it feel that way. When a child says, I forgot, the campfire parent does not immediately say, how many times have I told you? They add a log. Okay, well, what's your plan for repairing it? Adding a log does not mean agreeing with everything. It means keeping enough warmth in the conversation for the child to stay close. The campfire parent slows down, listens, reflects, repairs, admits mistakes, shares fears, models courage, says, I'm still learning too. And that last line matters because children do not need adults who pretend to have everything figured out. They need adults who are brave enough to grow in front of them. A campfire parent might say, I wanted to rescue you because I was scared you would feel embarrassed. But I also know you need to practice how to handle this. Or I came in too hot earlier. Let me try again. I know I keep reminding you, because I'm nervous, but I want to help you build your own system. Or perhaps they say, I'm not going to fix this for you, but I am going to sit beside you while you figure out your next step. That is different. That is not rescuing. That is not abandoning. That is warmth with responsibility, grace with growth, connection with courage. That is the fire. So let's go back to the bike. When children learn to ride a bike, there is a moment when we have to loosen our grip. Not because we don't care, not because we're afraid to break a nail, although, I think I know one or two people who may have felt that way when they was teaching. Anyway, back to the point. Mainly, it is because balance cannot be learned while someone else is holding all the weight. And that is hard as a parent because when they wobble, we feel it. When they fall, we feel it. When they cry, ooh, we feel it. When they are embarrassed, we feel it. And if we're all being honest, sometimes their wobble triggers something else within us, like our fear. What if they're not ready? What if they fail? What if other kids are mean? What if the teacher misunderstands them? What if they get overwhelmed? What if they don't ask for help? What if they need me and I'm not there? Those are real fears. But the answer to fear cannot always be control. Sometimes the answer to fear is preparation. And that's what this episode is really about. Honestly, that's what this entire series is all about. Not letting go all at once, practicing before the first day of middle school. Because independence develops before middle school begins, not magically on day one, not because they walked into a bigger building, not because they now have a locker, not because the schedule has more lines on it. Independence grows through small repetitions, tiny responsibilities, supported mistakes, natural consequences, reflection, repair, try again. That is how confidence grows. Not from avoiding problems, from solving them. So, what does that look like in real life? It looks like letting your child order their own food while you stand nearby. It looks like having them pack their own bag for vacation, then checking it together at first. It looks like letting them forget the water bottle one time and survive being thirsty while it's 90 degrees outside. Not dehydrated in the wilderness, just mildly inconvenienced. There's a difference. It looks like saying, you email the teacher first and I'll help you write it. It looks like having them memorize their address and phone number. It looks like practicing opening a combination lock. It looks like walking through the school schedule and saying, what do you notice? It looks like letting them be responsible for charging their device. It looks like giving them a checklist instead of giving them 16 verbal reminders while everyone is already late and somebody can't find a shoe. It looks like role playing, honestly. What would you say if you were lost? What would you do if you forgot your lunch or your instrument? What would you do if you sat alone? What would you say if you didn't understand the assignment? What would you do if someone was unkind to you or you witnessed an unkindness to someone else? Not because we're trying to scare them, but because practice lowers panic. A child who has rehearsed a hard moment is less likely to freeze when it happens. And parents, the same is true for us. When we rehearse our response, we are less likely to snatch the handlebars. So, here is my 2 cents. Your child does not need you to disappear so they can become independent. And they do not need you to take over so they can feel safe. They need you to become a steady fire, warm enough to return to, strong enough not to collapse when they wobble, wise enough to know when to coach, when to comfort, and when to advocate. Middle school independence is not a door you shove them through. It's a bike ride you practice together. And yes, they will wobble. They may forget, they may cry, they may roll their eyes, they may say, I know, when they absolutely do not know. They may insist they have it handled while holding a backpack full of loose papers, 3 pencils with no lead, and a granola bar from April. And you may want to grab the bike, but pause, breathe, ask yourself, is this danger or is this practice? Because not every wobble is an emergency. Sometimes the wobble is a lesson. And sometimes the most loving thing we could do is stay close enough to support, but far enough to let them feel their own balance. That is hard. That is brave. That is campfire parenting. So here's your summer challenge. This week, choose one independent skill to practice with your child. Just one, not a whole life overhaul, not a color coded binder system with 12 tabs, unless that brings you joy, in which case, carry on. But choose one thing. Maybe it's packing their own bag for vacation. Maybe it's ordering a meal for themselves. Maybe it's making a simple lunch. Maybe it's setting an alarm. Maybe it's reading a schedule. Maybe it's asking a question without you speaking first. Maybe it's emailing a teacher or at least drafting an email to a teacher when they need support. Maybe it's practicing what to do when they are confused. Then do 3 things. First, name the skill. Second, practice it together. Third, let there be a little wobble. And when the wobble happens, resist the urge to turn it into a lecture. Try this instead. Okay, what did you notice? What might you do next time? What could you try? What support do you need from me while you practice? That's it. Small reps, small wobbles, small repairs. That's how independence grows. 4 pennies to put in your pocket. Before we go, here are 4 pennies to tuck into your pocket this week. Number one, a celebration. Celebrate one place where your child is already more independent than they used to be. Maybe they get dressed on their own in a more focused and timely fashion. Maybe they remember their cleats. Maybe they can make a snack. Maybe they speak up more than they used to. Maybe they recover faster after disappointment. Say it out loud. I noticed you handled that. Children need evidence of their growth. So do parents. Number two, think about your instinct under pressure. Do you hover, clear the path, defend first, investigate hard, coach too quickly? No shame. I'm just asking you to notice because awareness gives you choice. Number three, talk with your child about one middle school moment they feel most nervous about. Not with 20 questions, not with the lecture, not back when I was in 7th grade, just a campfire conversation. What is one thing about middle school that feels exciting for you? Or what is one thing that feels unknown? Or what is one thing you want to feel ready for? Then listen, add logs, keep the fire burning. Do pick one independent skill and practice it this week. Let them wobble, Let them reflect, let them try again. Do not confuse discomfort with danger. Do not confuse support with control, and do not confuse independence with distance. They can grow and still come home to the fire. Whew. In closing, I would like to say thank you for listening this far. This was a jam packed episode, and if you listened to it from start till now, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And friend, your baby is going to middle school. And no, they may not be ready for everything, but readiness is not built by waiting until they are perfect. Readiness is built through practice, through wobbling, through trying, through knowing that when the world feels big, there is still a place of warmth, truth, grace, and belonging waiting for them. That place can be you, the campfire parent, the one who says, I won't ride the bike for you, but I'll be here while you learn your balance. Next week, we are going to keep building on this idea and talk more about the things your child actually needs to carry into middle school. And again, I don't mean school supplies yet. I mean the inner tools, the confidence, the language, the self-awareness, the little pieces of wisdom they can carry with them when you are not standing right beside them. Until then, take what you need, leave what you learned, and if anything in this episode stuck with you, share it with someone who could use a little encouragement.